Beginning Monday, May 5th, the Education Department will resume collections on defaulted student loans for the first time in 5 years. This will include reporting defaults to credit bureaus. The department plans to collect payments through the Treasury's offset program, which will allow officials to withhold things like tax refunds, federal salaries, and Social Security benefits. The move could directly affect more than 5 million Americans who have defaulted on their loans since federal payments were paused for COVID-19 in 2020. The Education Department estimates another 4 million borrowers could default in the coming months. Wayne Johnson joins us now. He's the former chief operating officer at the Education Department's Office of Federal Student Aid. Thank you so much for being with us. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says collecting these payments is essential both for borrowers' financial health and for the nation's economy. What could the effects, both intended and unintended, be?
Well, the intended effect is to aggressively go after the $1.6 trillion that student loan borrowers owe. The unintended consequence is that 5 million people starting next week are going to get hit with a freight train. Another 5 million by November, so we'll be up to 10 million. And this time next year, there'll be 20 million people being subject to Treasury offset, which includes garnishing wages, and which includes taking money out of people's Social Security checks, which means seizing their tax refund checks. So there's quite a bit of let's say personal financial impact that's about to happen. President Trump certainly took the right course of action by making people aware that after 5 years, you've got to start repaying or meeting your obligations under your loans. However, the government is not prepared to deal with the fact that many people want to repay. They just don't know how to make the contact and establish their improved status. But so the bottom line is, we got a whole bunch of people right now that are running scared. They've been not having to make any payments, not even have to be in contact, not even have to acknowledge that they exist for 5 years, and now they're being told that if you and many of them aren't. By the way, about 75% of the people are not making any payments at all and can't even be contacted. So the net result is we're about to see a financial impact like I don't think we've seen in a long time at a personal level.
You said the government is not prepared. Is that because of cuts to the Department of Education? Can you elaborate?
It has nothing to do with the cuts at the Department of Education. The Office of Federal Student Aid, of which I was the chief operating officer, administers contracts. And really, what it really boils down to is to the contractors. There are 6 servicers. There's 5 other organizations that support that. Do they have the people in place to handle the calls? And I got reports earlier this week that people were waiting 10 hours, and after 10 hours, more than 50% of those people were still hanging up. So the administration did a fantastic job of saying, "Hey, you got to try and reach people, try and reach the department and take action." But the servicers are just not prepared, and they don't even have the capacity, and it'll take a long time for the reach capacity.
How frustrating. Back in 2019, before these collections were even initially paused, you endorsed the idea of mass student loan forgiveness, calling the entire system fundamentally broken. What led you to that conclusion then, and do you still support that today?
I support that we've got an incredibly flawed and it's an abomination hiding in plain sight, the federal student loan system. Our colleges and universities use cost of attendance price setting to basically exploit the amount of money that they are almost demanding that students take down from the government. It's predatory lending in terms of the terms and conditions of the loan. So my declaration at that point in time was because I was doing a fantastic job with my team of making the whole system work better. And then I found out and discovered that it's an absolutely flawed to the core system. And so where we are right now is, we do have these debt obligations on the books. They got to be dealt with. But before we, in order to deal with them, we got to know what we're doing going forward. Do I continue to support debt cancellation? Only if we cancel the entirety of the program, particularly if we go about canceling Parent Plus loans and Grad Plus loans. So to me, it's a grand bargain. We'll cancel debt provided that we we rein in the entirety of the program. But let me tell you where, we can spend a lot of time here admiring the problem. And the problem is very simple. A lot of people are about to get, like I said, hit with a freight train, sledgehammer, whatever you want to call it. And it's because they're now, clearly understanding that they've got to take action, but they don't have the ability to take action. So what I'm going to be calling upon the administration, the Department of Ed, whether it's SBA or Department of Ed or the White House, they need to put in place a capability between the time somebody is delinquent and the time that it's intended to go over to Treasury. They need to put in place some professional resources outside the government that can bring the know-how, the technology, the capabilities to actually work with these borrowers while they're in the delinquent state, even if they're in default state, but way before it goes to the hardcore draconian collection activities
Okay.
that the Treasury will impose. Final point. Once it goes to Treasury, it will be with you for the rest of your life. So what we need to do is figure out how to get this amplified or enhanced default management under control, keep it away from hitting the hardcore collection activities of Treasury, get people's lives back in order, at the same time, get ourselves collecting, 30 to $50 billion of money a year that we need to collect.
All right, Wayne Johnson, we'll have to leave it there, but we hope you'll come back. Thank you.